Today, we're sharing a story that shook a quiet suburban community in America. It's a story about love, betrayal, and the thin line between despair and hope. This incident reminds us that behind closed doors, people face struggles we may never see. What you're about to hear is based on actual counseling records, though names and certain details have been changed to protect privacy. This is the story of a man we'll call David.
David was 35 years old, living in a comfortable suburban neighborhood somewhere in the American Midwest. To his neighbors, to his coworkers, to everyone who knew him, David seemed to have it all figured out. He worked as a project manager at a mid-sized tech company. Not a glamorous job, but stable, respectable, and it paid the bills. He had been married to his wife, let's call her Sarah, for 10 years. They met in college, started dating in their early 20s, and got married when David landed his first real job after graduation. Sarah was his first serious girlfriend, and he often told his friends that he couldn't imagine life without her. David was the kind of husband who tried to do everything right. He worked overtime when the company needed him, not because he loved his job, but because he wanted to provide for his family. He never complained when Sarah wanted to redecorate the house, even though it meant spending weekends at furniture stores instead of watching football with his buddies. When she wanted to go cooking classes, he signed up with her. When she wanted to go on weekend trips, he made it happen, even if it meant using his limited vacation days. His friends would sometimes joke that he was whipped, but David didn't care. He believed in his marriage. He believed that this was what love looked like: sacrifice, compromise, putting your partner's needs alongside your own. He thought he was building something real, something that would last a lifetime. Every morning, David would wake up at 6 a.m., make coffee for both of them, and bring Sarah her cup in bed before he got ready for work. It was a small ritual, but it was theirs. On their anniversary, he would always book the same Italian restaurant where he had proposed. He remembered the little things. Her favorite flowers were peonies. She liked her steak medium rare. She always got cold in movie theaters, so he'd bring an extra jacket. To David, these 10 years represented the foundation of his entire adult life. Sarah wasn't just his wife. She was his best friend, his confidant, the person he thought knew him better than anyone else in the world. It was a Tuesday evening in late September when David's world began to crumble. He came home from work earlier than usual. There had been a power outage at the office and everyone was sent home. He texted Sarah to let her know, but she didn't respond, which wasn't unusual. She often left her phone on silent when she was reading or watching TV. David walked into their house, calling out Sarah's name. No response. He figured she might be taking a nap or maybe out for a walk. He went to the kitchen to get some water and noticed Sarah's phone on the counter, plugged into the charger. The screen lit up with a notification. David wasn't the type to check his wife's phone. He trusted her completely. But the notification was right there, and he couldn't help but see it. It was a message preview. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was..." David's heart skipped a beat. He told himself it must be from a girlfriend, maybe about a girls' night out, but something felt off. His hand trembled as he picked up the phone. He knew her passcode. It was their wedding anniversary. She had nothing to hide, right? He opened the message. It wasn't from a girlfriend. What David found in the next 30 minutes would destroy everything he thought he knew about his life. Messages going back months, then years. Photos, video calls, plans to meet up, expressions of love, passion, intimacy. And not just with one person. His wife had been having affairs, multiple affairs. And as David scrolled through the evidence with shaking hands and tears streaming down his face, he realized the timeline. These weren't recent mistakes. They weren't one-time lapses in judgment. The messages dated back to the early years of their marriage. Some conversations referenced times even before they got married, back when they were supposedly in their committed, exclusive relationship in college.
David's mind raced through every memory, recontextualizing everything. Those late nights when Sarah said she was with her book club, had she been lying? Those weekends when she went to visit her sister, were those lies too? The business trip she took 6 months ago, was there even a business trip? 10 years, possibly longer. His entire marriage, maybe his entire relationship, had been built on deception. David felt like he was drowning. The walls seemed to close in on him. He couldn't breathe. Everything he thought was real, everything he had worked for, every sacrifice he had made, it was all for a lie. She had looked him in the eyes every single day and lied to him. She had let him make a fool of himself, being the devoted husband, while she lived a completely different life behind his back. The betrayal wasn't just about the affairs themselves. It was about the stolen years, the false foundation, the realization that the person he thought he knew better than anyone was actually a stranger.
David didn't confront Sarah that night. He couldn't. He was in shock, operating on autopilot. When she came home an hour later, cheerful and asking about his day, he mumbled something about being tired and went to bed early. He lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling, his mind spinning in circles. The next few days were a blur. David went to work but couldn't focus. He stopped eating. He couldn't sleep. Every time he looked at Sarah, he felt sick, but he said nothing. He was paralyzed by the weight of what he knew. His friend Marcus, they'd been friends since college, noticed something was wrong. They had a standing weekly lunch, and when David showed up looking like he hadn't slept in days, Marcus knew something was seriously wrong. "Man, you look terrible. What's going on?" David wanted to tell him. He wanted to say it out loud, to make it real, to have someone else confirm that yes, this was as bad as it felt. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, he just shook his head and said he wasn't feeling well. But Marcus wouldn't let it go. He knew David too well. After lunch, he followed David to his car. "David, talk to me. What happened?" And then it all came pouring out. The discovery. The messages. The years of lies. Marcus listened in stunned silence as his friend fell apart in a parking lot in the middle of the day. "Oh God, David, I'm so sorry, man. What are you going to do?" David didn't have an answer. He didn't know what to do. Part of him wanted to confront Sarah, to scream, to demand answers. Part of him wanted to run away and never come back. And part of him, the part that scared him the most, wanted something else entirely, something dark. "I gave her everything, Marcus, everything, and this is what I get? What's the point? What's the point of any of it?" Marcus tried to talk him down, to remind him that this pain wouldn't last forever, that he would get through this, but David wasn't listening anymore. He was somewhere else, somewhere dark and unreachable. Over the next week, David's mental state deteriorated rapidly. He stopped going to work. He stopped answering calls. He sat alone in his house while Sarah was out, probably with one of them, he thought, and spiraled deeper into despair and rage. The thoughts got darker, more specific, more real. Marcus tried to check in every day, but David stopped responding to his messages. Finally, Marcus decided he needed to see his friend in person. He had a bad feeling, the kind of feeling you get when you know something terrible is about to happen. When Marcus arrived at David's house that Friday evening, the door was unlocked. He walked in calling David's name. The house was dark, except for a single light in the living room. What Marcus saw when he entered that room would haunt him for the rest of his life.
David was standing in the middle of the living room. Sarah was there too, backed into a corner, her face pale with terror. And in David's hand was a gun, his father's old service revolver that he kept locked in a safe in the basement. "David, no!" Marcus's voice cracked as he held up his hands. "Man, please put it down. We can talk about this." David's eyes were empty, like he was looking through Marcus rather than at him. His hand was shaking, but his grip on the gun was firm. "Talk?" David's voice was hollow. "There's nothing to talk about, Marcus. She destroyed everything. 10 years, maybe more. My whole adult life was a lie." "I know, man. I know. What she did was terrible. But this isn't the answer. Please just put the gun down and let's talk." "Talk won't fix this." David's voice rose, raw with pain. "Talk won't give me back those years. Talk won't make the pain stop. Nothing will make it stop." Sarah was sobbing, trying to speak, but David wouldn't look at her. Marcus took a slow step forward. "You're right. Nothing can give you those years back. Nothing can undo what happened. But this," he gestured at the gun, "this doesn't fix anything either. This just destroys what's left. And what's left is you, David. You're still here. You still have a life ahead of you." "What life?" David laughed bitterly. "This was my life. She was my life. Everything I did, everything I planned, it was all with her. What do I have now? Nothing. I am nothing." "That's not true." "It is true," David's voice broke. "I gave her everything I had. My time, my energy, my trust, my love, everything. And she threw it away like it meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. If I meant nothing to the one person who was supposed to love me, then what am I? What's the point of any of this?" Marcus could see his friend was drowning in pain, and he was desperate to throw him a lifeline. "The point is that you're more than this relationship, David. I know it doesn't feel like that right now. I know it feels like your whole world is ending. But you're my friend. You're a good person. You have people who care about you. Your mom, your sister, me. We see you. We value you. And yes, she hurt you. God, she really hurt you. But her actions don't define your worth. They don't erase who you are." David's hand trembled more violently now, the gun wavering. I can't. I can't live with this pain, Marcus. It's too much. Every time I close my eyes, I see it. Every time I breathe, I feel it. It's like there's a hole in my chest, and it just keeps getting bigger. How do I live like this?" "One day at a time," Marcus said softly, taking another careful step forward. "1 hour at a time if you have to. And you don't have to do it alone. We'll get you help, real help. Therapy, counseling, whatever you need. There are people who specialize in this kind of trauma. They can help you process this, help you find a way through." "Through to what? What's on the other side of this?" "I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. But I know that you won't find out if you do this. I know that if you pull that trigger, there's no coming back. There's no chance for things to get better. There's just nothing. And you deserve more than nothing, David. Even if you can't see it right now, you deserve a chance to heal, to rebuild, to find out who you are outside of this relationship." The room fell silent, except for Sarah's quiet crying and the sound of David's ragged breathing. Marcus stood frozen, barely breathing himself, watching his friend wrestle with the darkest moment of his life. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, David's arm dropped slightly, the gun pointed at the floor now instead of forward. His whole body seemed to collapse in on itself as the adrenaline drained away, leaving only exhaustion and grief. "I'm so tired, Marcus. I'm so tired of hurting. I know you are." Marcus moved closer now, slowly reaching for the gun. "Let me help you. Give me the gun and let me help you." David looked at the weapon in his hand as if seeing it for the first time. Then he looked at Marcus, really looked at him, and something human flickered back into his eyes. Slowly, carefully, he handed the gun to his friend. The moment the gun left his hand, David's legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, and 10 years of pain came pouring out in broken sobs. Marcus sat down beside him, putting an arm around his shoulders, holding his friend as he finally let himself fall apart.
That night changed everything. Marcus called a crisis counselor, and David was connected with a therapist who specialized in trauma and betrayal. It wasn't an easy road. Recovery never is. There were dark days, setbacks, moments when David wondered if he'd made the right choice by handing over that gun. But slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild. He moved out of the house he'd shared with Sarah. He filed for divorce. He took a leave of absence from work to focus on his mental health. And gradually, with professional help and the support of friends like Marcus, he started to rediscover who he was outside of that relationship. David's story is one that plays out in different variations across America every day. The pain of betrayal, the weight of deception, the moment when everything you believed in crumbles, these are real experiences that real people face. And in those darkest moments, when the pain feels unbearable and the future feels impossible, people make choices. Some choose violence. Some choose to end their own suffering permanently. But some, like David, choose to live. This story isn't meant to excuse what Sarah did. Betrayal is real damage. The pain David felt was legitimate, and he had every right to be devastated, angry, and heartbroken. But pain, no matter how justified, doesn't justify violence. And suffering, no matter how intense, is not permanent, even when it feels like it is. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if you're in that dark place that David was, please know that you're not alone. The pain you're feeling is real, but so is the possibility of healing. There are people who want to help, professionals who understand what you're going through, friends and family who care about you, even if you can't see it right now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of reflection. We hope these timeless lessons help guide your own path to peace and fulfillment. If these stories resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to Timeless Whispers for more wisdom tailored for your golden years, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. And tell us in the comments, what is the one thing you are most grateful for today? Until next time, take good care.